Well, okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Hey, it was good to see you all here. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Today is an interesting day, and the word mindfulness is the powerful, powerful word. I bet many of us grew up with our parents saying, now be mindful where you go. Be mindful what you're saying and how you're saying it. Anybody relate to that? Yes? Yeah? Be mindful of your surroundings and what have you. And I think, now probably we are saying that kind of thing to our grandchildren. Be careful, be mindful what you're saying, how you say it, and who you're hanging out with. Well, so it's nothing wrong with hearing that over and over, regardless of your age. And we've got a gentleman here today with us that's going to really enlighten us on being mindful. So I want you to put your hands together and welcome our very own Stuart Johnston to talk about embracing mindfulness. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you to the Senior Center and the Commission on Aging for inviting me here. So yeah, my name is Stuart Johnston. I'm a resident here of Pittsburgh. My wife and I, Carol, who's right over there, moved here about 2 years ago. So I want to first start out, before I start talking about mindfulness, to share just a little bit about how I got interested in it. So 3 years ago, I retired from Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, where actually my wife and I both worked there for 36 years. And I worked in the counseling service there for almost all of those years. And about 15 years ago, I did some reading around meditation and mindfulness, and I thought it might do me some good. As you probably can guess, I worked in a pretty stressful job, and I needed to manage my stress a little better. So I started my own practice, started practicing meditation, trying to be more mindful, and I noticed a difference. And in the readings that I was doing, I saw that there was an opportunity to bring this to college students. So I got trained in a particular program around meditation and mindfulness, and I taught it to college students. I taught it to over 200 college students while at Luther College in small groups of like 7 and 8. So I taught it a lot. We retired and moved here to Pittsburgh, and somebody said, hey, to Carol and I, you two should go over and check out the Senior Center. We're like, okay, we'll do that. And so we went over, and I was just amazed. We both were about how many courses, how many activities are going on here. And I approached the Senior Center and said, hey, would you be interested in somebody teaching meditation and mindfulness to this community? And they said, absolutely. And they welcomed that. So I've taught this class several times over the last couple of years. And when Janice heard I'd done that, she asked if I could do kind of an intro to meditation and mindfulness to the Lunch and Learn. So that's how I ended up here. So that's where we're at. So I first want to just start out, and yes, I have PowerPoint, but there's not much there, is we talk about mindfulness a lot, and we've been hearing it for years. And if you've read the paper, if you've picked up a magazine, we see it all the time. And we're told to do that, which is great, but we're not told really what it is unless you really dig in and start reading. So what is mindfulness? And mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and aware of your current experience without overreacting or getting lost in thoughts. Or put another way, mindfulness is the act of paying attention to your present moment experience with an attitude of, and these words are really important, compassionate curiosity. Rather than worrying about the future or rehashing the past, you hold your attention on the moment at hand. So really what mindfulness is being aware of your present moment experience with an attitude of compassion and curiosity. And I'm just going to say this, whether we are 20 years old or 90 years old, we spend a lot of time being pretty mindless. We really do. And that's just how things are. And that's not a criticism, that's just kind of how maybe we're wired, or maybe what society expects of us. And so I think it's okay to think about, okay, how can I be a little more mindful? And what does that mean? And what does that look like? So one of the points that I wanted to share is this might be a new perspective for some of you. Janice said that we probably heard from our parents, be mindful of where you're walking and be mindful for what you're going to say. And that's all really good advice, but we really don't think about it and really try to internalize it. The practice of mindfulness essentially involves learning a different way of attending to the events and experiences of your life, both your internal ones, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and external ones, other people, your wins, your losses, the weather, the belt line, all of those things, and how we attend to those things, how we approach those things. Mindfulness is also a practice. Mindfulness is in part a practice because it takes practice. The more you work at it, the greater the impact it'll have on your life. I myself try to practice it as much as I can. I'll give you an example. So some of you may know I have an e-bike and I ride all over Madison and I get all over the place. And I try really hard not only to be paying attention that I'm on the bike path and going the direction I want to go, but really noticing the colors, the blue sky, the cornfields, all of that. I want to be mindful of that because I really want to internalize that. And this is probably one of the biggest points about mindfulness is non-judgment. A critical part of mindfulness practice is learning to observe what is happening without automatically judging or categorizing it as good or bad, right or wrong. Our minds are judging machines. That's what they do. We are constantly judging. And that's not a bad thing. Okay? We need, when we're driving, I talked about the belt line. And there's some people who've taken the class with me, and I use the belt line as an example quite often because it's really fun to pick on the belt line. That when we're driving the belt line or we're driving, we have to use judgment. We have to use it all the time. And that's a great place for it, is when we're driving a car. Or when we are doing some activity, we really need to be focused and we need to use good judgment. Okay. The flip side of that is that sometimes we're judging ourselves or we're judging other people. And what that often does, it gets in the way. It gets in the way of knowing ourselves, and it gets in the way of knowing other people. And so using non-judgment is really a part of mindfulness, especially for ourselves when we're engaging in that. So that's what mindfulness is. And Janice asked me this, and so I'll put this out there. If anybody have questions as we go along, you're welcome to raise your hand and ask a question. I will do the best I can to try to answer them. Okay? All right. So what mindfulness is not. Mindfulness is not a religion. Okay? Meditation and mindfulness has its roots in Buddhism and the Buddhist practice, and that's wonderful. I share this when I teach class. I'm not a Buddhist. And so I'm not trying to promote any particular faith practice. And I've taught this to quite a few people. I taught it at Luther College, which is an ELCA institution. And so I would have participants say, well, Stu, when I'm getting ready to meditate, I really feel like I need to pray. Is that okay? I'm like, that's mindfulness. You're attending to your present moment experience and identifying what you need. And so this is not to replace any particular faith practice you may have. It's in addition to. And that's a really important piece. The other part, and this really gets to what we've seen in the news and what maybe we've read in magazines or what other people are putting out there, mindfulness is not a cure for all ills. It is not. I say this and it's like mindfulness will not kill all our ills. Mindfulness will not eliminate all difficulties from your life. It will not do that. but it can diminish how disruptive they are. Mindfulness teaches you a different approach to the inevitable ups and downs of life, an approach that improves your resilience so that you can stay on your feet and keep moving. That's what mindfulness can do for you. It can really help with that. Questions? All right, we're good? All right, we're good. Okay, I mentioned this, and I get this question quite a bit, is people will say, okay, I'm mindfulness and all that. They say, Stu, do I have to meditate to really engage in mindfulness? My answer is, yeah, you do. Okay, you really do. To experience the transformative power of living mindfully, one must practice meditation. There's truly no shortcut around this. It's really tempting to read a book about mindfulness, attend a presentation about mindfulness, remember to walk mindfully to the senior center or the grocery store and feel like you're getting the full experience, but you're not. Unless you actually spend, and I would say around 10 minutes a day, practicing a meditation skill or technique, you won't achieve the most profound effects mindfulness has to offer: greater resilience, wisdom, and authenticity. Developing the ability to meditate and stay mindful takes practice, and anyone can do it. I have taught 18-year-olds and I've taught 90-year-olds to meditate and engage in mindfulness. And the feedback I've received about the program that I've offered has been positive. And so anyone can do it. It just takes practice. That's what it does. The ability to focus one's attention in the present moment is not a natural aptitude. That's what I talked about. It's easy to be very mindless. But rather, it's a skill that must be practiced if it's to be mastered. Nobody perfects this. Nobody does. It's a constant practice. So one of the questions, so like I said, I've offered this to a lot of people, and one of the first things I ask people when they come in is, have you ever meditated before? Have you ever taken a meditation class? And I would say 20 to 30% will say, yeah, I have. And they go, I'm terrible at it. And I'm like, you're terrible at it? Tell me why you think you're bad at meditation. And they say, well, because I couldn't clear all my thoughts. And that's not how I define, that's not how I see meditation, that's not how I was taught. And I always say maybe that's how other people are teaching it, that's fine, but that's not how I teach meditation. Meditation is not about stopping all thoughts. It's not. Your brain never quits making thoughts, and you're going to get really frustrated with this whole enterprise if you're expecting your thoughts to stop. That's what our mind is supposed to do. It's supposed to create thoughts. That's what it's supposed to do. But instead of stopping your thoughts, you're just trying to learn to notice your thoughts, not get carried away by them, and maybe not take them quite so seriously. So when I teach this, we use a lot of metaphors. And one of the metaphors we use is the rushing river metaphor. So the closest river that I can think of around here is the Rock River. Rock River's not too far away from here. So imagine yourself standing in the middle of the Rock River right now, where you can actually stand on the bottom of the river. Your thoughts are like that river. They are constantly coming at you, constantly. They're never stopping. Sometimes they try to push you over. Sometimes the river's higher. Sometimes the river's lower, but they are constantly coming. If you try to stop the Rock River, you might be successful for a little while, but eventually, whatever you've put up is going to either fall down or come over. And when it falls down, a lot more river is going to be coming at you, just like your thoughts. So in meditation, the way we want to think about it is, the goal of meditation is to not stand in the middle of the river. The goal of meditation is to climb up and sit on the riverbank and watch your thoughts go by. And I envision my thoughts as a stick. We've all sat on a riverbank and watched maybe a stick float down the river. Okay? We see the stick comes, Here it comes. It's going down the river. It goes around the bend, and off it goes. And you know what? Our thoughts are just like that. Our thoughts come into our mind. We notice them, and off they go. And guess what? They get replaced by new thoughts. You're absolutely right. They get replaced by new thoughts. So the goal is to notice those thoughts coming in and leaving. And here's what will happen. You'll be able to do that, and we're going to do a meditation practice here in just a minute. You'll be able to do that for a few moments, and then all of a sudden, you notice you're getting caught up in thoughts like, did I already eat my cookie? When is the bus coming? What do I have to do this afternoon? And off you go. You have not, if that happens, you have not failed. That's a part of the practice. You notice that you've gotten caught up in that thought. And without that judgment, with that compassionate curiosity, you say to yourself, oh, that's interesting. I got caught up in that thought. You climb back up on the riverbank and sit back up on the river. One expert has called this where this is the one place where failure is success. The minute you notice you've fallen into that river and you bring yourself back out and you sit on that riverbank, you have just done mindfulness. That is the whole part of meditation and mindfulness, is to notice that. And as you practice this, if you decide to do this on your own, later on, the more you practice it, you'll be able to sit on that riverbank a little longer and a little longer. And that, what I say, that mindfulness muscle will get stronger. Eventually you will fall in, just like I do. And then I notice it. Sometimes I laugh at myself. I'm like, why was I thinking about that? Why was that so important? And I laugh at myself and I get back on the riverbank. But meditation is not about stopping all thoughts. Questions? Comments? All right. We're going to do a couple of different meditative practices. They're not going to be for very long. Now, some of you might be saying, you know, Stu, I didn't sign up for this. I really don't want to do this. You know what? That's okay. That's perfectly fine. What I'll ask you is that if you don't want to participate, just sit quietly. That's easy to do. But if you want to participate, you can do that. The first meditation is just a breathing meditation. And when I offer this, this is how we start each class, is with a short breathing meditation. And it'll be easy to do. You can sit where you're at. That's what you just need to do, and I'll walk you through it. Up here I have a meditation bell. And I will ring it at the beginning of this, and I'll ring it again at the end. So you'll hear that. When I have people take the class, I say, you know, I haven't perfected ringing this. So sometimes I ring it pretty loud, and sometimes I ring it pretty soft. But I will ring it, okay? I will set my watch for about 4 or 5 minutes. And like I said, I'll walk you through this. If you don't want to participate, you're welcome to just sit quietly, okay? All right. I'll ask you just to get comfortable. Oh, the other thing is, we're going to have people clearing our tables. That's fine. If you decide to meditate later on, there's always going to be noises around you. Always. And so part of the practice is noticing that and coming back to your breath. The other thing, I'm just going to say this, quite often as adults, we don't sit in silence very often with other people. We're usually talking or visiting or watching TV or at the movies. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All of you just finished lunch, right? Okay? And here in a little bit, your bodies are going to do what your bodies are going to do, and your stomach is going to start processing that nice lunch you just had. So let's just acknowledge that we might hear our stomachs, and we might hear other people's stomachs. And that is what our body does. So you don't have to feel uncomfortable about it. We've all acknowledged that here we are, and this is what our bodies are going to do. Okay? Any questions about this meditation before we start? All right. I will ring the bell. I'll set my timer. and we can get started. Find a comfortable position. Allow your eyes to close if that feels comfortable to you, or you can gaze towards the floor with your vision soft and unfocused. Notice the feeling of your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap. Notice the places your body makes contact with the chair. Bring your attention into your body, become aware of your breathing, and see if you can discover the place in your body where you most clearly experience the sensation of your breath moving in and out. Some people most clearly feel their breath in the rise and fall of their chest or their belly. Others notice the feel of air as it moves through the tip of the nose or the back of the throat. It doesn't matter where it is. You are just trying to discover where you personally most easily sense the flow of your breath. Once you have discovered where you most easily feel your breath, allow your attention to settle there, observing with curiosity as the breath moves in and out. You will likely notice almost immediately that your attention wanders from your breath. This is normal and natural. Without struggling or judging yourself, simply notice that your mind has wandered. Then release the thoughts, returning your attention again to the rise and fall of your breath. We're not trying to stop our thoughts. We're just learning to notice when our thoughts pull us out of the present moment and then return our attention to our breath with patience. When you hear the sound of the bell, bring this level of awareness to all of your activities for the rest of the day. There you go. How was that? Great? Yeah. Anybody feel comfortable sharing what that was like, or how that was maybe different? It's the relaxation of the mind. You bet it is. Absolutely.
If the human being can't relax on his own mind and think for itself, it's no good to him.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
It's something that I rarely get a chance to do, so it felt really good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's something that we don't typically allow ourselves to do. And so it can feel nice. And I've heard that from young people and from mature people in this room. Thank you for sharing that. So it was peaceful and you're like, boy, my stomach's making a lot of noises. That's being mindful. Okay, so you've experienced the sense of peace and so two things can happen at the same time. And your body is doing what your body does when you have a meal. It's digesting the nutrients that you have put in it.
And I'm hoping Barbara didn't hear my
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So that's a breathing technique. Okay, so we're going to talk about acceptance, and I talk about this a lot, and I think this is probably one of the most important components of mindfulness that we can have. So people sometimes think of acceptance as being complainant, and it's not. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is an active state, a place of wisdom, a place of seeing the truth, and then using that knowledge to make wise decisions. So here's the image the story that they share to kind of give you an idea of what acceptance might look like. So imagine you're cruising along in your car on a beautiful country road, but all of a sudden you hit a muddy pit in the road and your car stops. You are stuck. In frustration, which many of us would do, you or the person driving the car rev the motor, driving the wheels deeper into the mud. What now? You could spend a long time being mad and blaming yourself for being stuck. Why does this always happen to me? I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I didn't see that mud puddle. Maybe if I just kept my foot on the gas, I'll eventually drive out of here. I'll never get out of this mud. You could carry on this way for a long time, wasting a lot of energy and still not doing anything that would get you unstuck. What would acceptance look like in this situation? It would look like seeing the reality of your situation and then using your clear understanding to find a solution. If you weren't able to accept your situation if you were able to accept your situation after a few minutes of ranting and raving, which I think we would all do, you would likely say, okay, I'm stuck. I don't want to be stuck. I'm really mad that I'm stuck, and still I am in fact stuck. You don't have to be happy about it. You just have to acknowledge that it is the truth of the matter. And the moment you acknowledge that, you can start to see solutions. The way to become unstuck is to first see very clearly that you are indeed stuck. So what next? Call a friend? A tow truck? Ask the Oracle, Ms. Google, how one gets oneself out of the mud? Your ability to think of all the resources available to you, then choose wisely how to proceed, flows directly from your acceptance of the truth of your situation in that moment. Acceptance doesn't mean, when you accept things, it doesn't mean you like it, and it doesn't mean you agree with it. But when you begin to engage in acceptance, the first thing you can do is identify, can I problem solve this? Because let's be honest, and I know all of you know this, there are some things that we cannot problem solve. There's a few things out there we just can't. And it's good to know what those things are. But there's a lot of things that we can problem solve. But the first thing we need to know is that what the situation we are in right now. And then how do we problem solve that? Getting frustrated. So I'll give you, like I said, I pick on the belt line. Maybe it's not fair because the belt line can't pick on me. But we will be sitting in the belt line, maybe stuck in traffic and yelling and getting upset. The funny thing is, it's not going to change how quickly the cars are going to move. We are there, and that's where we're at. We are stuck, and then we can find a way to get unstuck. So here's a place to start with acceptance, because here's people say, well, boy, there's hard things that I really not sure that I'm ready to accept, and I say that's okay, that's all right. You don't need to do that. A place to start with acceptance could be a place where you're feeling or experiencing something positive. I'm guessing all of you have something that you're looking forward to. Janice mentioned grandchildren. Some of you, not all of you, some of you may have grandchildren. or may have loved ones, and maybe you have some plans to see them sometime soon, okay? It's a really wonderful mindful experience when you're with those people to be in the present moment, okay? How many times have you maybe been with a friend having coffee and you've been visiting for 45 minutes and you can't even remember what you've talked about because maybe your mind was someplace else, thinking about the next activity you had to do. So mindfulness can help you practice, be present with the people that you're with and enjoying those times, and then accepting those positive feelings. That feeling of somebody's listening to you, somebody who you care for, somebody who cares for you, and really embracing and accepting those feelings. Because what we notice is that those positive and pleasant emotions and experiences don't last forever. Okay? My wife and I have best friends, and they come visit for the weekend, and when they leave, we always say, man, that weekend went fast. And it's because we had so much fun. When we can accept that, then we might be able that those pleasant and positive emotions don't last forever. Then maybe we'll be able to accept some unpleasant experience emotions because we find that they don't last forever either. And they don't. They come and they go. Maybe they don't leave as fast as we would like them to, but when we can accept them, they might leave sooner. All right, we're doing well. Okay. The other thing I wanted to share is our thoughts, not our circumstances, actually create most of our stress. You can probably think of times when you've been in a beautiful place yet managed to feel miserable because your mind was focused on some worry or problem. Alternatively, you can also probably describe times where you were in a physically hard or messy place, but happy and having fun because of the attitude about what you were doing or maybe the people that you were with. Here's an old fable that nicely illustrates how much of our feelings and judgments about a situation are responsible for our suffering. An old monk and his young student were walking along a road one day. They came to a bridge that had collapsed into the small stream it crossed, making it impassable. An old lame woman stood beside the stream in great distress because she was unable to cross. The old monk gently lifted her onto his back and carried her across the stream, placing her safely on the road on the other side. As the two monks carried on down the road, the young monk erupted in anger at the old monk. "How could you have picked up that woman? You know that's against our vows. How could you have disregarded our spiritual tradition so easily? You were wrong to do that. No one will be able to respect your wisdom ever again. You've ruined everything we have worked for," and on and on. They had walked several miles down the road, and the young man was still agitated and angry. Finally, the old monk serenely turned to the young monk and said, "I left the woman on the road by the stream. Why are you still carrying her on your back?" Yeah. We carry those things with us, don't we? We do. And sometimes we don't even know we're carrying them. But if we can pay attention to our present experience and notice that and be able to say, I'm just going to let go of it. And sometimes it is just that easy. We might be carrying less of a burden because we have enough that we're carrying already. To carry any more can just be too much. We're going to do another meditation, but before we do that, any questions about acceptance? Any questions about that stress that we carry? Okay, so we're going to do. I've got two more meditations planned. We'll do this. We'll do the first one. This one will be a little longer than the last one, but I've heard pleasant things about it, and so I can offer it. And like I've said before, if you don't want to practice it, you're welcome just to sit quietly. So what we're going to do is a guided imagery, okay? And so okay. And as a mental health professional, I go to conferences and I'd sit in on guided imageries, and I was like, oh, I didn't care for them. okay? And there's a reason for it I'll get to later. So I got trained in this. And they said, okay, we're going to do a guided imagery. And I'm like, all right, we'll do a guided imagery. And then we did it, and it was like, this is way different than what I was used to. So if you've done guided imageries before, what I'll ask you to do is just suspend judgment for about 7 minutes, okay? And try this and see what it's like. I've gotten a lot of actually quite positive feedback from lots of different people about how this is. So what I'll do is ask you again to get in a comfortable position, and we can get started. I will set my timer. So I talked about this guided imagery. The most important part of this exercise is what I want you to do is to use all of your senses when you're visualizing. This helps your brain relax and respond as if you're really in the place you're imagining. Scientists can now place people in functional MRIs, and I've been in one once, where they are actively creating visualizations and see, for example, the engagement of the part of the brain that controls vision. So sometimes people experience strong feelings, both pleasant and unpleasant, when doing this meditation. That's natural and totally okay. If for any reason your experience becomes unpleasant or uncomfortable, you can always end the experience by opening your eyes at any time for any reason. You can do that, and what I'd ask is a way to kind of get in a better place is to open your eyes and just bring your awareness about what's in the room. Notice the colors on the wall, notice the sounds that you hear, and that's a way really to ground yourself. And so, and you have complete control over how long and how deeply you develop your visualization. So, yeah. People ready? Okay, we can do this. Allow yourself to sit back and relax. See that your arms and legs are in a position that feels right for you, and slowly and gently close your eyes. Allow your attention to move to your breathing. Let your breathing become even and comfortable. Breathing is one of the most powerful conscious influences you have on your nervous system. So now I'd like you to see yourself in a very special place. It could be a real place, a place you may actually have been, a beautiful spot in nature, or a comforting place in your own home. Your special place may be an imaginary place, a place in fairy tales, indoors or outdoors, it doesn't really matter. Should more than one place come to mind, allow yourself to stay with one of them. The only thing that matters is that it is a place in which you are completely comfortable and supported. You feel comfortable and supported. Appreciate this scene with all of your senses. Hear the sounds. Smell the aromas. Feel the air as it touches your skin. Experience the ground securely under you. Touch and feel the whole environment that you are in. Notice what you are wearing. Notice what you have on your feet. What time of year it is, what time of day. Are you alone or with another person or people or a pet? Notice the colors that surround you. What is the temperature? Is it warm? Is it cold? Notice the qualities of the place that make it comfortable and supported. Now look around you to see if there is anything else that would make this place more comfortable for you. Perhaps something that you need to remove from the place, or something you need to bring in. And then notice how your body feels in this place. And now take some time to enjoy this feeling of comfort in your special place. Remind yourself that you can return to this place or a similar place whenever you wish. And when you are ready, at your own pace, let your breathing deepen. Very gradually, let the awareness of your body against the chair return. Bring yourself back slowly and comfortably. And now when you are ready, and only when you are ready, gently open your eyes. Welcome back. Yeah. How was that? Very nice? Yeah. Yeah. Good. So here's what I never ask people, where did you go? Because it's a very personal place. And so sometimes people do share with me where they went, what their special place was, because they're so excited that they have to tell somebody, and that's fine. And I go to the same special place all the time too. But this is different than a typical guided imagery. When I've done guided imageries before, they tell me where to go. And I didn't like that. I like this because I get to decide, because everybody's special place is different. It's different, and it's because it's very personal. And so, yeah. There's different places, and so that picking that one place. And what I would say is that's great, because there may be a time when you want to practice this again, and you want to go to that other place, because it may do something different for you, you know? And you can try that. And that's the nice thing about this. You can experiment with it and see what works for you. Okay. It is 4 minutes to 1, so I think our time is about up. So if you have questions and you want to come up, and I'll be around, I'll be hanging around. I'll be happy to answer those questions. I just want to thank Janice and thank the Senior Center for allowing me to come in and share this with you. Thank you very much.